Welcome to Daniel Reviews. I'm Daniel Goodwin, and today we're talking 3D printing. Let's get into it. In one of my past videos, I talked a lot about the filament that I use in my Bambu P1S, and I really leaned heavily on the Overture, particularly their Eco PLA Midnight Black is the color. I probably run 50, I'm not joking, close to 50 spools through my printer at this point, and it just eats it up and spits it out. It just does fantastic. I've done a few of their other colors, but much more sparingly, so I can't give it I guess, quite the endorsement I can in the Midnight Black Eco PLA. That's, again, just really works well, prints well with my printer. But I've also started experimenting with a few other filaments. One of them is this Elegoo, their black filament, and I've had some troubles with it. It's just not been as smooth of an experience, but I think the main reason for that is what I want to cover in this video, which is kind of an essential maintenance on your P1S, or really on any 3D printer, but we'll get into that. So when you get a new spool of filament, particularly from a manufacturer that you've not used before, or a retailer you've not purchased from before, and you have some problems printing with it, it can be very easy to say, oh, the filament's bad, or it just doesn't work with my printer, or whatever it is. It's easy to blame that, and you may be right. It may actually be the filament. There may be some things that you need to do, or just avoid it, I guess, is an option as well. But more than likely, if something's failing with your print, there's a few things that might be more likely to be responsible than the filament itself. So let's talk about one of those things here today. This is the most likely culprit of your printing problems, the build plate. Let's get into this. Now, I'm not sure how well this will show up on the camera, but this is my Bambu PEI texture plate that came with the printer. I've used it, again, for all my prints. You can purchase replacements either from Bambu or from other suppliers. You can get different types, some more of a smooth plate, some with this texture, some with different things. All that's fun. But this plate has worked perfectly for me once I started doing what I would call kind of a regular maintenance plan on it. When I would have prints that would fail, this plate usually was more at fault than anything else. You need to clean the plate on a somewhat regular basis. It does not have to be after every single print. That would be ridiculous. In fact, I've printed probably for a solid month without trying to clean this plate. And if you want to if you want to extend the life, you can always flip it over, right, and get a little more life out of it. It's kind of like that character from Big Hero 6. I go front, I go back, I go in, I go out. You could do that if you wanted. But especially, and again, I don't know how well this is showing, the lighting's not the greatest in here, but when you start seeing little outlines on the plate, it could be either just kind of a film from the PLA, it could be a film from my fingers from touching it, could be just a buildup of anything, of dust, whatever it is. That means it's time to really clean this good, and we're going to walk over that today. Okay, so for cleaning, there's several different ways. I'm not going to say one way is better than the other. You can use rubbing alcohol, pure alcohol to clean it. You can use, some people talk about Dove soap and water. I happen to use this Dawn Power Wash. You can use it for your dishes, of course. And I use it for this, and it's been pretty successful for me. And it's just easy. And I tend to fall into doing the things that I find very easy. I don't have to be at a sink, for example. All right, so with the power wash, it's pretty straightforward. You just kind of spray it down and let it set. I let it set for a little bit, and then I use something like, this is a scrubby my wife made, actually. She did a great job. But you can't just depend on letting this to dissolve everything that might be on the plate. You do need something that has a little bit of a grip, a little bit of texture. You could use a microfiber cloth, probably. Maybe a light sponge, something with again, some texture that can grab it. But this works really well in what I use. So I just take it, kind of just do the whole wax on, wax off, you know, Karate Kid motion with it. Just kind of scrub it really good, particularly in the you know, the edges, areas where you're prone to grab with your fingers, and perhaps leave some oil on the plate that would prevent bed adhesion. You want to scrub it down really good. And then once it's fully scrubbed down, you can take something like a, you know, just a paper towel, or you could use a cloth as well to dry it off. And then it's really important, this should go without saying, but maybe I'll say it just the same. You know, you want to make sure that this fully dries off before you go and try to print something on it. You don't want to stick it right in and possibly have just a little bit of the Dawn power wash on it. Still, that would obviously impact your print. But again, I don't know how much the kind of things that were on the plate were showing up in the camera, but this is much clearer, much cleaner. And I always do both sides when I'm doing it, because it just seems like a waste to just do it on one side. When my prints fail, this is the very first troubleshooting tip that I usually go to. I mean, this is probably bad. I probably shouldn't wait until the print fails to clean this, but that's kind of what I do. But if you're a little more cautious than I am, I'm a little, you know, carefree. I wait until something fails before I try to fix it. And usually when I do this, that resolves a lot of my print problems. I usually have no problems after that. I do have some other issues. You know, if this doesn't work, typically the next thing is to start looking at the model that I'm printing. No matter whether you design your own models and print them, or download them off of Maker World or Thingiverse or wherever, chances, even if somebody else says they printed it fine, there might be some factors that would cause your print of that model not to work. So I start looking at the model itself and seeing, does it have adequate support? Does it perhaps need a brim around the footprint to help hold it to the bed a little better? You start looking at those things, and you know, because it's not this is so much better. The P1S is so much better for 3D printing than anything I've used before, but it's still not completely hands-off. So you do have to use a little critical thinking to say, okay, why is this print failing? Is it starting to lift up from the bed in a particular area? If so, maybe I need to put a brim on that and to help hold it down a little better. That's the next step I usually move to. Okay, I know today wasn't anything earth-shattering. I showed you how to clean a metal plate with some Dawn power wash, but I'm telling you, you'd be surprised if you're wondering why you're getting a lot of print failures. This is the very first troubleshooting step that you should take, is cleaning that plate. Again, whether you use this or whether you use rubbing alcohol or a little dish soap, whatever it is, clean it. Make sure it's very clean, dried. Put it back, run your print again, and see what happens. For me, most of the time that takes care of it. After that, I'm starting to look at the model itself. You know, is it designed well for printing? Is it just, you know, different things like that. And then if you're still having problems, then yeah, it might be the filament. And there are some steps you can take. You can calibrate flow rates. Maybe you need to run at a slightly higher temperature or a slightly higher bed temperature or lower, whatever the case may be. I will say at that point, if the cleaning the build plate and the model isn't working for me, I'm probably going to stop using that filament, just because, again, I don't have the time to be tweaking and monitoring a print for 6 hours. So if something's not working for me, I'm either going to give up on the print or I'm going to give up on the filament and move on, because there's so many other filaments that I've had nothing but great success with. And I don't want to go through the whole process of trying to find something that works that may or may not work, and it involves a lot of my time. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it for what it was. It's not much, but it's something that I definitely would recommend to anyone to do on a very regular basis to keep your prints right on par. I'll see you in the next video.